Imagine a world where the sun and moon are devoured, where the stars fall like dust, and the very ground beneath your feet buckles and splits. Not in some distant fantastical future, but as an ancient, inescapable prophecy whispered in the frost-bitten north. A prophecy not of a hero's triumph, but of universal, relentless doom. What if I told you that the end of everything wasn't a sudden cataclysm, but a slow, agonizing decay? A preordained fate etched into the very fabric of existence, waiting for its cue. Tonight, we're not just telling a story, we're peering into the chilling inevitability of Ragnarok. What if the gods themselves knew their fate and could do nothing but watch? This isn't the heroic epic you think you know. This is a story of dread, of a slow, creeping horror that gnaws at the edges of the world. It's a warning from a forgotten age, a premonition of an ending that even the mightiest couldn't avert. We're going to walk through the long, terrible night that fell upon the 9 realms. We'll witness the turning point, the moments when hope became a bitter jest, and the worst part, when the fabric of reality itself began to unravel. What it cost was everything, and what followed was a silence colder than any winter. Prepare yourself. This is a late-night warning, a glimpse into the true dark heart of Norse mythology. Our story begins not with a bang, but with a series of whispers carried on the biting winds of Fimbulwinter. The prophecy of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods, wasn't a secret. It was a shadow that lengthened with every passing age. The Aesir, Odin, Thor, Freya, they knew. They knew of the great wolf, Fenrir, bound but growing. They knew of Jörmungandr, the Midgard serpent, stirring in the depths. They knew of Loki's wicked brood and the coming betrayal. But knowledge is not power when fate holds all the cards. Their attempts to prevent it were merely moves in a game already lost. The first strange detail? It wasn't a sign in the heavens, but a shift in the very nature of humanity. The Poetic Edda speaks of a time before the end, marked by an age of axes, an age of swords, where brother would fight brother, and the bonds of kinship would shatter. It was the moral decay that preceded the physical collapse, a world turning inward, consuming itself from within, making the ground fertile for the true horror to bloom. Then came Fimbulwinter, not just a long winter, but 3 consecutive winters with no summer in between. The sun grew pale, the earth froze solid, and the very concept of warmth became a distant memory. This wasn't just bad weather, it was a cosmic chill seeping into every corner of the 9 realms. The first clear escalation wasn't a battle cry, but the deafening silence that followed. Crops failed, animals starved, and the once vibrant communities of Midgard dwindled to desperate warring pockets. The gods in Asgard felt it too, a weakening of their own divine strength, a growing despair. Something didn't fit with the usual cycle of seasons of life and death. This was different. This was final. The world was not merely cold, it was dying. And then the chains broke. First, Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, tore free from his magical bonds, his jaws capable of devouring mountains. Then the Midgard serpent, Jörmungandr, thrashed in the deep, churning the oceans into furious tidal waves that crashed against every shore. The very earth began to tremble, like a living thing in its death throes. Imagine the sky, not blue, not gray, but a canvas of fire and ash. The sun, once a benevolent light, now a malevolent ember, and then it was gone, devoured by Fenrir, plunging the realms into a perpetual twilight lit only by the fires of destruction. The moon followed soon after.
The sound of Gjallarhorn, Heimdall's mighty horn, piercing the gloom, signaling the final assembly. But it wasn't a call to victory. It was a funeral dirge for the cosmos. Here's what we know so far. The world is freezing, civilization is collapsing, and the ancient beasts are unleashed. The worst part wasn't the clash of armies, though that was terrible enough. It was the feeling of cosmic betrayal. Even the stars, fixed points of comfort, began to fall. Each one a tiny, distant world, extinguished. The ship Naglfar, made from the fingernails of the dead, rose from the sea, captained by Loki and carrying an army of the damned. Think about that for a moment. A vessel built from the remnants of forgotten lives, sailing to destroy all life. Doesn't that just settle in your bones? Then Surtur, the fire giant, emerged from Muspelheim, wielding a sword brighter than the sun, scorching everything in his path. This wasn't just a battle, it was a purification by fire, a final destructive cleansing. The gods fought valiantly, yes, Odin against Fenrir, Thor against Jörmungandr, Freyr against Surtur. But it was a doomed resistance. Each hero met their fated adversary, and each fell. It was a tragedy written long before their birth. The climax wasn't a sudden explosion, but the slow, agonizing collapse of everything. The Bifrost Bridge, the rainbow path to Asgard, shattered. Asgard itself, the glorious home of the gods, was consumed by Surtur's flames. So, what's the verdict? Ragnarok wasn't just a myth, it was a prophecy of total annihilation, a cyclical reset button for existence itself. It teaches us that even the mightiest powers, the very creators of worlds, are beholden to a destiny they cannot escape. But what still doesn't feel right? The sheer inevitability of it all. Why did the gods, with all their wisdom and power, appear so helpless against a fate they clearly foresaw? Did they truly believe they could change it, or were their actions merely part of the cosmic dance, unknowingly fulfilling the prophecy even as they fought against it? It's almost as if the universe itself was rigged, the dice loaded from the very beginning. The creeping dread isn't just about the monsters in the fire. It's about the chilling realization that some endings are written in stone long before the story even begins. That lingering question, the feeling that the gods were puppets in a grand, terrifying play, that's the true horror of Ragnarok. It circles back to our opening hook, a world where even the divine are devoured, where the end is not a choice, but a cosmic command. The world was purged, submerged in the waters, and then a new world arose from the depths, green and fertile, with 2 human survivors, Lif and Liftrasser, to repopulate it. But the memory, the terrifying echo of what came before, remains. This story makes you wonder, doesn't it? If the gods couldn't escape their destiny, what does that say about our own? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Ragnarok was a true prophecy, a cyclical event, or a cautionary tale? What part of this chilling end stayed with you the most? If you're drawn to these whispers from the dark corners of history and myth, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what we uncover next.